Analysis of the said toll plaza has been concluded. The order made for repossession is for purpose of evaluation of the plaza by LCC Insurance, renovation and total control of the aforesaid plaza from today henceforth.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I had before now the permission of the Honorable Chairman and other members to deliver a dissenting opinion. And that's why you saw that he came in late.
The panel will rise whilst the...
You will recall that...
the panel will rise.
Please, just wait, gentlemen. You will recall that we were here and we decided that this panel does not form a quorum if the youth representatives are not present. You will recall that when we were inaugurated, the members of the youth representatives were not here. So, because of that,
I'm sorry to interject.
No, please don't. I'm delivering a ruling. Don't interject, please.
There's a reason for it.
No, please don't interject.
I think you should recuse yourself. You are taking NCC.
Don't interject, please.
On the issue of the toll plaza.
Gentlemen, I delivered the dissenting opinion. Please. Yes.
There is nothing before us that suggests that.
Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful Monday morning nonetheless. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
Well, most certainly something very, very interesting, and I don't know, many people will be wondering what that is about.
Okay, so, I mean, as you may have seen, that's the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry into the NSAS protests, cases of police brutality, and especially the incident at the Lekki Toll Plaza. I mean, it happened October last year, and of course, as you know, state governments have been setting up judicial panels just to look into issues of police brutality, the NSAS protests, and what have you. So that's a background which you may be aware of. But the latest that happened in Lagos is what you just saw, you may have seen just before we came up. So you have the panel delivering a ruling, and so Justice Okuwobi delivered that ruling. But as you have seen there, Mr. Ebolo Adeborowa, SAN, had a dissenting opinion to that ruling. And according to him, I mean, it was really a very interesting back and forth, if I can use that term. So he says, well, for now, we haven't completed investigation. In fact, this panel has a life of 3 months or thereabouts. In fact, 6 months, I should say. So we're not done with this. So how about we wait till the whole process is completed before we hand over the Lekki Toll Plaza to LCC. But of course, LCC says they need to go through insurance processes, look at the sites and all that. But for me, I mean, this is normal, really, for legal practitioners. You have dissenting opinions. That's how you come to arguments, and then a decision is made eventually. But this panel is peculiar. It's not a court of law, as it is. Yes, there are acts and laws backing it, but it's not a court of law. So the challenge here is how binding some of the rulings and decisions will be eventually. If midway through we're having this challenge already, and don't forget, there was a challenge in the beginning where a lot of young people, especially young people who were represented on that panel, said, well, we're not going to be a part of this because of a certain provision. Well, that was sorted out. But the issue of trust is still a big one, because if people don't trust this process, I mean, if you had seen what a lot of people said on social media, then you'd understand how they feel about this ruling. So trust for me is key. If we don't have trust in this process, then really we're not going far.
It's very, very interesting that you bring the issue of trust, because clearly Adeborowa is not the only one whose voice dissents. And I think one of the points he was trying to make there is, what is the voice or the take of the youth representatives on that panel? You remember, of course, the point he is trying to draw out there, the fact that there was no quorum without the youths represented on the panel. And clearly, of course, you would expect that the youth representatives themselves have put out a notice to say, look, this whole judicial panel thing was because they put out the 5 for 5 demands. And the president at the behest of that request, that demand of theirs, communicated through various means, asked, that the panels of inquiry, of judicial inquiries be set up across, various states in the country. That was done. And now, well, maybe the job is not particularly over, but one of the crucial elements of that is this Lekki toll gate, which, because of its state, nothing really could be done, and government took possession of it to take forensic reports and do the needful about it. And then here we are, the judicial panel saying it's okay. They can take back, possession. If the decisions of the panel is not binding, then perhaps we wait to see how LCC is going to take this. If the LCC is able to take back possession of the facility as a result of the pronouncement of the judicial panel, then the decision of the panel is binding. But how far binding will it be? Will we be able to make statements or rulings, so to speak, on policemen found culpable eventually? I don't know if any policeman has been able to show himself to come and give testimony. All of the conversations that we've been having about, let them come out. These are the things that people are saying about, policemen, who were supposed to, this is what a policeman did to me.
And in this case, the army is also involved in this case as well.
Let's even begin with the police brutality itself, which is the real thing. Many policemen, we saw the army come out to make a presentation.
Exactly.
I don't know if one single policeman, nor even the police force, police system themselves, have sent anyone other than the policeman or the lawyer that has been speaking on behalf of the police.
Which I must say has been a very tricky job for him, because
which definitely
he's had to
is
take
a
the
tricky
brunt
exactly
from the panel.
So all of those ones are there, and then we haven't really particularly said, okay, this is the position of the police, this is how we feel about this, and then Lekki concession company can take back possession. That's fine. But then the question that you raise about trust is quite cogent there. I think that government needs to make some stronger representation about these things, so that it's not just another talk shop. It actually represents the intention of government.
And don't forget,
which is to have peace.
Yeah, remember that talk about justice being done and justice seen to be done.
So whether or not this is, I don't know. Marco, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a very tricky one, gentlemen. It's a very delicate balance. The report done by our correspondent, Shola Shoeli, I think did justice to what happened, what transpired on Saturday. The judge who is sitting over the presiding, who is the chairman of the panel, addressed the issues of quorum. And I think she also gave the lead judgment at the end of the day. Now, the LCC people, it would seem that, trouble was already, brewing when they saw what was going to be presented on that particular list. Number one on the item was going to be an item of controversy, whichever way you looked at it, LCC asking to take possession of the toll gates. And the chairman of the panel ruled that, in fact, they could have it back because, the place is a thoroughfare. It's been open since the protest. People have been using it. So she doesn't see the back possession of the thoroughfare was going to hamper investigation in any way. However, there are people on the panel who disagreed, and one of them was Mr. Ebun Oluwadegborua. LCC had an issue with him giving his own opinion or his own judgment on the matter, his dissenting judgment on the matter, because that he had taken LCC to court in the past. So they kept on heckling until, I think eventually he wasn't able to deliver that. Nonetheless, other members of the panel were able to give their own dissenting voices. And I think they raised a lot of the issues that he might have wanted to raise. I don't know if he was able to subsequently give its own dissenting judgment. But they talked about LCC's non-cooperation, the fact that video pieces were missing from the evidence that LCC provided the panel, and it would seem that somehow they have hampered investigation and they're not being very cooperative on questions that have been raised. And so those dissenting judgments were given. And then as to the subject of quorum, you know, that was also there. So I think generally, sometimes one story comes out and we don't see the entire picture. And I don't know how this is going to proceed, but, you know, there are questions to me as to how it is. Don't forget that LCC, I think almost all the shares owned by LCC has been bought by the Lagos State government. Was it I'm trying to remember if it's the shares now or just the debt owed by LCC that was bought by the Lagos State government. So if LCC belongs to Lagos State and Lagos State set up this judicial panel, you know, were we going to expect anything different? There are huge questions around that. As for the youth representatives, you know, being absent from the panel as a mark of protest, some people will say, is that a wise thing to do? Do you protest from outside or do you protest on the inside? You know, so there are huge questions in that regard. And I think that it's something that the youth representatives themselves will have to sit again, you know, with those whom they represent to say, look, guys, is this the best way forward? But especially when you continue to see that these sort of judgments, leave judgments, if you like to call them, will be binding. I believe very strongly that it will be binding. I imagine that LCC will be there this morning to, you know, claim repossession of the toll. If anybody is dissatisfied, they might ask them to go to a higher court, or to a court, so to speak, because this is a panel, a judicial panel of inquiry. So let us see how matters proceed. But however it is, you know, my take will be, I think that it is best to protest within the panel itself, to be there. Do not let anyone shave your head behind your back. Gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Malcolm, for that one. I guess, as you said, we just wait to see how it all ends. Of all representations made, just one IPO, and what's the police authority saying about that? Well, that's just for Lagos. What's happening everywhere else? I guess time will tell. Time has told us what happened yesterday, and the papers are bringing them to us.
Oh, absolutely. So let's begin with Vanguard newspaper for you. The lead story concerns security, and this is something that has been in the news for as long as I can remember. Criminal herdsmen have begun guerrilla warfare on Yoruba land. Who's saying that? Well, Agbekoya, Afenifere. So this is huge. This is really huge. Take a look at the riders. Stop using false social media in security situation. Makinde's aid. Don't harbor strangers. Ogumonak cautions subject. War is at the door. Afenifere. I mean, I don't know. This doesn't look good at all. I mean, beginning on this note, but clearly this is something that is of utmost concern to the interested parties, and should be to all of us as well, because we don't want to see war at all. So it's on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper this morning, and there's a chart there that shows a low level of financial knowledge threatening 33.6 million MSMEs. I'm tempted to say your constituency. So that's a big one. 33.6 million MSMEs. Oof. So, wow, we'll see how that plays out.
I don't think we have been able to bring them into mainstream, if in a manner of speaking. We've really not been able to pull them into the, well, we've discussed this a number of times, and a number of economists have told us that macroeconomics feeds the microeconomies of the MSMEs, but how far-reaching that is, I guess time will tell.
Now, don't forget, there's also sports news. Osimhen not at his best yet. That's coming from his manager, Gattuso. So, well, the best is yet to come for Osimhen, I guess. That's a Vanguard for you.
Well, so many papers to take a look at. Let's take the next one. Daily Trust, 26 killed in Kaduna, Edo, Osun attacks. Customs officer, 4 others abducted in FCT. Taraba NLC chair regains freedom. You know, Kayode, many of these stories do not make the front pages of the headlines. Many people who get out of home very early in the morning and they get attacked. A number of people, among us here would have, report that, they were on their way to work and guns, began to go off. Some people go out of their homes, they never get back. It never makes the front pages of the newspaper. So anything you see on the front page of a newspaper is a sample of the real things that are happening in this country, and we need to give it attention before it bites us in the butt. Well, it's not the only insecurity issue you find there, but there are so many other stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Furore over CBN ban on cryptocurrency. Page 18 has that one among so many others this morning. Markwe.
Well, let's quickly look at leadership for you there. Very disturbing story right on the front page. Citing neglect, IDPs resort to begging, prostitution, drugs. That's what you find on the front page of leadership this morning. Say we're dying of starvation, lack of safe water, medication. Displaced students risk missing SSE for paucity of funds. Dangote begins feeding of 1 million malnourished children. Page 4 has got the details for you. You also see there some promotion ahead of Ehingbeti. PMB Tinubu Mo Ibrahim Okonjo-Iweala to speak at Ehingbeti. And you also see there PMB seeks reform of African Union. That's also on the front page this morning. We'll leave it there for leadership newspapers.
Well, next up is The Guardian, which leads with government needs 2 trillion naira to immunize over 200 million Nigerians.
2 trillion?
Yes. Just to put that in context, Nigeria's budget is 13 trillion naira. So 2 trillion. And of course, this might not happen in a day or in a year. So, but well, take a look at the writers. May spend 921.2 billion naira on 140 million people by 2022. Logistics 3 times cost of procuring vaccines,
Whoa.
says PSN. And that makes sense because when you think about the cold rooms, the transportation and all that, I mean, you know how much that will cost.
Does that include the cost of communicating the need to take it to the people?
Well, if that's captured under logistics, so maybe.
Maybe.
Or not. But another writer says, engage consultant public health pharmacists to reduce costs. So, that's a silver lining there, I guess, or, I mean, something encouraging. So perhaps there's a way to reduce
So where do we
costs.
factor in what Bill Gates recommended or suggested to us to prioritize the infrastructure above vaccines?
Oh, yeah. So another thing to chew on. But right under that, devolution of power, solution to Nigeria's problems, says Agbakoba. If I had a cover for every time I've heard that, then... That's Guardian.
The Nigerian Tribune is talking about earned allowance. FG owing varsity workers over 150 billion naira. Find that story on page 2. Unions say workers not paid since 2011. Approval of 20 private varsities, a mockery of Nigeria's education. Ascribed to ASU. Find out where that is coming from on page 2 of the paper this morning. Under the picture you see there, Afenifere, Sokapo, others demand new constitution, say 1999 document can't solve security challenge. And now it seems to be in the same line with what NC Front and so many other people have been asking for, including some members of the National Assembly, past and present. That's the Nigerian Tribune this morning, Markwe.
Well, let's look at the Abuja Inquirer. What's it saying in my city this morning? You see there, not very pleasant, Abuja descends into kidnappers' haven. That's what you find on the front page. Yes, the police did parade a number of people over the weekend who they said were, suspected kidnappers. So they have this story on the front page. Abuja descends into kidnappers' haven. And we ourselves here at Channels have experienced quite a bit of that. So this is not something to be taken lightly. Over 24 taken between January and February. Ex-immigration boss, 3 others kidnapped on Sunday. Residents beef up neighborhood watch. Police nab 6 for kidnapping. So that story is there. When you find all of these pockets of stories here and there, you know, you can make of it what you want to. Cryptocurrencies, despite uproar over ban, CBN says no going back. That's also on the front page. Herders crisis, civil war looms, act now. Shoyinka urges Buhari is also there. But a little something to warm your hearts this morning. Just in case you're wondering what that picture is about, is the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo with schoolgirl Chinaza. But they say the VP finally got to meet with Chinaza, who beat his security cordon at the Yanya market on the outskirts of Abuja to insist he visits her mother's stall in 2018. Now, the story has it that the VP adopted her and pledged to cater for her education. So you never can tell what persistence and determination can do for you. That's Chinaza meeting the Vice President again, I guess in the middle of the pandemic with their masks on. Well, let's leave it there for the Abuja Inquirer.
Well, heartwarming indeed. But take a look at Nigerian News Direct. The lead story is coming from the CBN. No going back on cryptocurrency ban. So is that it? More details on page 2. Because I know a lot of people are involved in this. So, of course, the last has not been heard of this one. And you see, Nigeria to receive 16 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. And there's been a lot of talk about how these vaccines work for the different strains. So that's also something to consider, because you have the South African strain, you have the UK strain and all that. So how well will this work for those strains? The news is out there. A couple of other stories on the front page of News Direct, but we'll leave it there.
The Blueprint newspaper is also interested in insecurity this morning. Navy nabbs 3 kidnappers at POS point in Kaduna. POS.
That's good news.
Very good news.
Bandits killed 19 in Beningwari, Kejuru.
That's sad news.
Honestly. 6 gunmen arrested, 2 victims rescued in FCT. APC chair killed in Benue. NLC boss kidnapped in Taraba. Algon seeks spiritual solution. Lalong urges forgiveness. That story is on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper this morning, along with several other stories. You are at liberty to pick and choose as you please. And, well, Mawpai, you have any other? Okay, well, the Daily Times newspaper is next here. World Bank tasked on electricity projects in Nigeria, $500 million fresh aid. The story is on page 4 of the Daily Times newspaper this morning. Have the Daily Independent?
Oh, yes. Take a look at the Daily Independent. Weak Naira, lockdown fear, stagflation, threatened recovery. That's not a good combination, really. Weak Naira, lockdown fear, stagflation, not even just inflation.
Stagnant.
Oh, dear. Stagflation. So that's how the Daily Independent leads this morning. You might be interested in that one. And there's this one, party politics. So, yeah. Well, the season is never ending, right? APC shuns Tinubu Akonde continues with membership registration. You recall that, those party leaders, chieftains, actually spoke about this. Sounded like they were saying, well, this is not exactly what we need at this time, but clearly it's going on. So the days ahead really will be very interesting for the APC and other parties as we build up to 2023. But it's a quite interesting front page for the Daily Independent this morning.
Another newspaper actually says that it's not that the two of them are against the registration. Perhaps they're just expressing fears. But then, as we have said, the details are right there on the inside pages for you to take a look at. Those are the papers this morning. You may have one or two others to pick on, so please go ahead and take your pick. In the meantime, we'll take a break and begin with the issues for the day. Do stay with us. Well, the controversy continues. Interestingly, the CBN has said that this matter of cryptocurrency It's not the first time we are putting out word about it. Federal government has put a word out since 2017, reiterated the same thing in 2018, and now it would seem like, all of that notice being put out by the federal government through the CBN was just falling on, do we say deaf ears?
Well, I mean, judging by the trend, really, it was inevitable. There are hundreds of cryptocurrencies. Yes, people talk about Bitcoin, but there are hundreds of them. In fact, a lot of them. And if you look at their market capitalization, runs into trillions of dollars. So it's not just a Nigerian thing. It's like you have access to Twitter. Okay, I mean, it's going on out there. So if you choose not to in Nigeria, it doesn't mean Twitter will stop.
Yeah,
so it was only inevitable that Nigerians, a lot of young Nigerians, I should say, because for a lot of old people, they're wondering, what is this cryptocurrency again?
That they don't understand.
Is it
it's
physical money? But clearly it isn't.
It's not to say that they don't understand it altogether.
But now, with the ban in quote, a lot of people are more interested now because they're wondering, okay, what is this cryptocurrency thing that has been banned?
And so many issues about that. What are the pros? What are the cons?
Yeah.
Do the pros outweigh the cons? The president has been talking about illicit financial flows for years, and they say that cryptocurrency is one of the ways. So many things in this mix. But let's begin that conversation in Abuja with Mokwe.
Indeed, gentlemen, I do have with me in the studio two very gentlemen this morning. Dr. Onoha Nachi is a financial economist, investment advisor, and energy expert. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nigerians.
And we also have with us Mr. Adamu Garba, who is the CEO of IPI Group and also a former presidential aspirant on the platform of the APC. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much, Mape.
Well, gentlemen, I don't know if you have seen the statements as released by the Central Bank of Nigeria, because now there are about two statements. There's the initial one released by the CBN, and then it seems they had to release another clarification as to where they stand. It's 5-page long. I don't know if you have seen, if you've had the... Okay, yes, you can see the statement there for the benefit of our viewers wondering what we're talking about this morning. And you can see the letter to all deposit money banks, non-bank financial institutions, and other financial institutions. And it seemed like it was pretty clear in terms of what it was saying, because right now there is a dispute as to whether there's been a ban or a restriction. And it says here, further to earlier regulatory directives on the subject, the bank hereby wishes to remind regulated institutions that dealing in cryptocurrencies or facilitating payments for cryptocurrency exchanges is prohibited. When you saw that particular statement, that initial statement, what did you make of it? Did you think it was a ban, or did you think it was just a restriction? Let's start with you, Mr. Onoha.
Okay. For me, it was clearly a ban, and I think CBN has goofed one more time again. I think they don't really have an understanding of what cryptocurrency is all about, despite that the Apex Bank, the regulators of the bank. Because if you do, your approach would have been different. If you look at that document that you just referenced, it talked about prohibition, and it's also talking about sanctioning commercial banks. And it went further to throw that emphasis that if commercial bank, let's assume I have my money in a commercial bank, and I want to trade in cryptocurrency, that commercial bank should restrain me from removing my money to do such trading or such an investment. But having said that, it is good for Nigerians to understand what cryptocurrencies and the transactions that goes around it is all about. If you understand cryptocurrency, there are 4 different levels of players that you can participate. You can participate as a trader, you can participate as an exchange house, you can participate as an investor, and you can participate as a miner. And these are the 4 different levels, and I will explain all of them a little bit. If you are running as an exchange house, you create a platform where anybody that wants to do business in cryptocurrency comes to you to make an exchange. That means they give you the naira, you give them any of the coins of their interest. And that is the only thing you do as an exchange. And that particular part...
Very much like a bureau de change.
A bureau de change. You give them your naira, they give you any of the coins you want. And if you're running as a trader, these are people that monitor the market every minute, every hour of the day. The market can go up today, it can fall back in the morning like this. So they take their risks. They determine when to buy, when to sell. And they exchange their currencies in that way. A young person will be in that business. In the morning, he has just $1,000, and the value of that can give him anything he wants to buy, and he buys it. Later in the evening, that same 1,000 has increased to $8,500 in terms of value. He sells. He has made $500, and he can cash out that $500 and keep his 1,000 in the market. And that earnings goes into our local market because he's going to feed from there like that. So we begin to understand what this actions is all about. And then you have the investors in the transaction. These people put in their money for a long time. Okay, I believe in this market and I can trust it. It's my risk, it's my personal risk. And they put in the money maybe 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And after that, they will withdraw their money, check the margin they have made. And if I pick one of the cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and their margins are published on a daily basis and on a monthly basis. And so if you are an investor, you have an investment chart to watch and monitor how your investment is going. And this is what investors does. And even if you have made a long-term investment for 6 months or 1 year, you also have the options of terminating any day of your choice. And that keeps you safe. In case you're not comfortable with the volatility of the market, you can terminate. And there are a group of miners which also operate in the market. These are technologically advanced individuals. If you're not, you cannot be a miner, because you need to understand how the blockchains work, because blockchain is an advanced form of a database which are linked together financially and that. So these miners make money in every 4 years. That's why you see cryptocurrency every 4 years. There is a hype, because the miners come to prove how secure it is, how ethically compliant it is, and another. And for proving it, they detect all the backhoes. So there's this balance and checks that takes place. And so these are the four group of people that participate in this market. And federal government, through CBN, coming to make such statement. I read a 5-page document they released yesterday, and they reference countries that have that. Countries are putting regulations and not banning. And I could take them to China, and I could take them to Canada. What they did is, for you to run an exchange where you put your nairas and you get the coins that you want, you must register with the central bank for you to run an exchange. So, and for every trading that takes place, it must be reported. You don't just wake up because you're lazy and you can't do your work and you just make a flat statement. That is absurd. It's an abuse of office and abuse of authority. And very soon they will still go back and revise themselves. We have an economy that is collapsing. We have an economy where our value for naira has gone too bad to understand. And these things that happen are also as a result of the CBN making these policies that doesn't work. Let me just make this last point. In about 5 years and few months ago, the same CBN came up with the regulations that international remittance must be paid in naira. And you know that contributes to our dollar values in the market, and you came up with such regulation. What did that do? It made our value of currency to go down. Just last month, January this year, they revised themselves. How do we go there? When we have paid the price, what price again are you expecting us? What pain do you want to put on us before you understand the realities facing us? I think.
Well, you have listed, how cryptocurrencies work, and I think that for those who understand the currency market, some of the steps that you have, or the levels that you have enumerated there are not strange to them, because the same thing operates even for regular currencies. In the forex market, for instance, the miners level, though I don't know about that, but I know about an exchange. We know about trading in the currency and things of the sort, and even investing in it. However, they have also listed the dark sides to this particular, to these transactions that happen in Bitcoin. And you must accept that for every advantage, there will also be a disadvantage. Don't you share their concerns when it comes to disadvantages? I'll come to you shortly, Mr. Gadaba. But don't you share their concerns with disadvantage?
I really don't, though, because
funding terrorism, the fact that a lot of the things happen anonymously.
You are to advise me I'm to take the final decisions. If you feel like you want to track funding terrorism, you know other means of tracking it. It is not just by giving a flat decision. It's like having a full Ghana must go that have documents and only one page of document there is fraud, and you say go and burn the entire document. That's the decision they have taken. It's a case of being lazy to sort those documents and sort out what is bad. People that trade or people that invest, the money are already in the bank. You have other mechanisms you put in place to check how they earn their money. If you don't trust how I earn my money, you can freeze my accounts. But not when I have earned my money through my hard work, which you can trace. If you don't trust, do that work. Don't be lazy about it. Do the work if you don't trust it. So those aspects of saying funding terrorism, first and foremost, we should know why people are doing this. And find out why people have choose cryptocurrency all over the world.
Let me find out, before this comes to marketing cryptocurrency program, let me find out from Mr. Garba whether or not he also sees it how you see it. In terms of, first and foremost, did you think that this was a ban or, as the CBN has clarified, a restriction?
This is not a ban. I think it is just, as he rightly said, understanding cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies runs on blockchain technology. When something is running on blockchain, it means that it is self-regulating, self-replicating within millions and millions of servers worldwide. There is no single body that will ever regulate that kind of transaction. What CBN said is this: we will not allow any person that is not within the window of regulation to participate in the transaction. Especially, he mentioned about traders, he mentioned about exchange house. These are the kind of people that collect money from others and claiming to be investing in cryptocurrency. Only God knows what may happen tomorrow when there are problems, because those guys are not within the window of view. We cannot accept it. But the truth of the matter is that cryptocurrency is the largest currency black market in the world. Nobody knows what is happening there. Who determined the 21 million Bitcoins that are produced in the entire lifetime of Bitcoin? No one can say that. We have Bank of International Settlement. We have European Central Bank. We have Bank of Japan. We have Federal Reserve. You know, all those banking systems have not endorsed, especially Bank of England, which says recently that it's trying to consider. None of them endorse this cryptocurrency. And suddenly in Nigeria, we have jumped into it. And in fact, in some cases, even stressing our own financial system, offsetting the financial arrangement. You can see Nigeria, I think, is about second or the third most traded Bitcoin in the world with $566 million US. And most of these monies were just put there without any factor of production. It's just consumption. I have an uncle who can give me $50,000. I just plug it and I'm just sitting down watching seasonal movies and I'm making money. Is that how we want to run a third world country that is even crawling, where we need dollar per production? So what CBN did is this: stop. We don't trust you because we have experience with MMM. We have experience with Binomo. People will carry their monies and give them in exchange for so many things. I know a particular exchange house here in Abuja that will tell you to bring 5 million naira in 2 weeks, you harvest 10 million naira, and people are jumping to do these kind of things in the name of trading it on Bitcoin. And we also have cases, if you remove the economic consideration, you go into national security consideration. You have cases of how our terrorists and bandits that are destroying the country keep sustaining their operations. We have issues on where do they get their weapons channel from. We know that nobody knows how this transaction goes behind the scene. The only thing you do is at the end of the day, you harvest something you didn't even work for. So how can we run a country where we do not have a system to monitor those people that are doing this transaction? He rightly said that they outrightly ban without putting regulation in place. And naturally, the steps to regulation is put a ban first, then allow those people to come forward. Then you can now be able to regulate them properly, especially in a kind of transaction window that the whole world does not accept. Who is Nigeria to say is accepting this kind of business, kind of currency, when the whole world, the main international financial systems, does not agree with them? So that's exactly what happened. And I actually believe that it's not a ban. If you look at the statement, it is very clear. CBN just reclarified statement they did in 2017 and 2018, and then try to come clean and tell people that you can do your cryptocurrency if you want. If you can do everything, but if you want to trade, go to Ghana, go to any other country, but don't come to Nigeria to try to do that. And if you continue to do that, the financial institution continue to participate in the process of this transaction, then they are supposed to be sanctioned, which I think it is very, very important. At least it's put strains in the movement of money that are not within the window of regulation. If you look at, as you rightly say, Chinese, what CBN also stated, they say that China also includes some regulations or ban. There is a principles that you must, as a third world economy, make sure that you put all your economic activities in a cage. Make the cage larger so that if the bird is flying within the cage, you can still be able to see the bird while it's still within the cage. You don't allow it to fly from the outside. I don't know who am I putting money to. I don't know where the servers are. And we know that if you look at the spikes in cryptocurrency, it's talking about this completely speculative currency. Tomorrow it will sink because we are just in a bubble. It may burst anytime. People are putting their own life savings. The consequences of busting in that kind of settings could reverberate into the economy and then cause a lot of problems for the country. So the best solution is until we have a very strong regulatory framework to track down these exchanges and traders, I don't think it is important for Nigerian financial system to participate in this kind of conduit or black transaction.
Do you agree with him? His explanation sounds pretty lucid. And it sounds like, no, just a moment, it sounds like a real serious threat. I mean, he talks about the fact that the CBN, what they do basically is regulate. That is their key function. Where you cannot see something that you're going to regulate, shouldn't you raise big question marks as to whether or not you want it in your system or you want it out of your system?
Okay. I was glad they referenced various countries that have put one or two things into place. They didn't tell us whether they ban any. No country has banned cryptocurrency trading, no investment. No country in the world. We stand to be the first one. Two.
They haven't banned it.
No. Let's get what banned.
Exactly.
Let's explain.
That's what we have to define.
We have to get that clear. Where you restrain me from taking my money from my personal account to do what I wish to do, I have earned it, and you ask the commercial banks to report and close the account. I don't know there's any other way of saying what ban is. If I cannot take my money to do such a transaction.
Yeah, but I mean, there's actually a limit on what you can do with your money, no matter how hard-earned it is. You cannot do things that are illegal, things that are criminal in nature. I'm just trying to make a point here about the fact that, yes, it is your money, but you can't say you're trading in cocaine, for instance, or you're buying heroin. That is clearly prohibited in the Nigerian economy, no matter how much money that is going to give you personally. I'm not likening this to, I mean, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies to cocaine and heroin. I'm just simply saying that there's a limit to what you can do with your money, no matter how hard-earned it is. Isn't that correct?
It is absolutely not correct. Because if I walk into the bank and withdraw my money, you don't ask me what I'm doing with my money.
Exactly.
That is the point. So if I'm...
But if the bank knows what you're going to use it for...
If they feel challenged, this is my point. Coming up with this statement is absurd. You are going to make the same Nigerians to start either they are trading or investing from the nearest country, which you have already caused by some of your policies on foreign currency transfers. Over 1 million Nigerians has been forced to operate accounts in Ghana and operating digital accounts, and they are running their business and doing all their international payment without that. This is what you are causing to the economy. And if you go along with this, where I cannot take my money to make an investment, it's an investment. It's my choice. Let me liken CBN with SEC, because they are both regulators of the market. This regulates capital market. There have been several Ponzi schemes across the countries, coming up and dying up. SEC will come out with a statement warning Nigerians that this is not approved by SEC. We are not authorizing it. If you choose to do it, you're your own. If you choose to do it. If CBN give us such statement, which was what was contained in their January 12, 2017 statement, they made that statement that if you choose to go into it, you're your own and this. People have invested in stock market, in bank shares, which collapsed. That was an investment. You took your chance. You took your chances. You made your investment, and you bought shares in companies within the country. And I can remember those days when we bought shares in Zenith, they were about 32 naira. Today, what's the value of the shares? 4 naira? I can remember those days we bought shares in other institutions that have collapsed. So why will you restrain this? And it is good that we pay attention to where this is leading to. I'm not talking about it because of the people, but we should look at it from the general effect on the economy. You don't come up with a statement that is not in line with global perception or international best practice. The banks he has mentioned, Bank of England and Coast, they exist. You watch their statements, what they are doing. You cannot be an outlaw to it. But what I'm saying is, clearly, CBN, I want market to be regulated because I operate in the regulated markets. I want market to be regulated. CBN can come up with a policy. You know what? For you to run a crypto exchange house, we need you to register with us. We need you to report monthly on your volumes, what you do and what you don't do. And there must be a documentation, your KYC must show to us. That is better off. And okay, if I'm trading and I'm using, and it's good to make this thing clear to my colleague who is here. In cryptocurrency, you cannot trade with other people. The way you operate, when you open up your account, your private key is given to you as a person. And you are warned never to share that private key. Because whoever you share that private key is more like a Swiss account. It can operate that account. So you are warned to do that. So it is limited to individuals when it comes to investments. But these other ones, yes, CBN can request for them to align proper, but not saying me as an individual, I want to make an investment that I choose. People invested in media houses. Yeah, people bought shares there. Stuff happened. People bought shares in different places. Market keep collapsing, market keep rising. Bubble burst is a natural thing in markets.
Are you not scared, though? I mean, that we're going to be losing. Yes, I mean, as you rightly pointed out in the course of this program, there are pros and there are cons to everything. We're not going to be losing the pros as well. We're looking for investment inflows, and some people believe that this is some way of having investment inflows into the country. Don't you think that we lose out completely with this sort of policy?
I think we're losing more, by participating in this transaction. You look at $566 million of consumption. And most of these monies, if you allow local traders to participate, I can give Naira. The same trader can use the small dollar that we have to be able to power our local production, buy it and then plug it in Bitcoin. And then there it flies away. So the money is going away from the country more. We are losing a whole lot of forex than bringing in forex into it. To the best of my knowledge, what CBN did was the best that can happen in this situation. We have to be not too idealist when we are trying to look at this kind of financial system or generally economy. We have to look at our reality. We are just an economy that has so many potentials, yet most of these potentials are not even harnessed locally. The little dollar we have to import what we need is now being wasted to the best of my knowledge, for pure greed. I want to just put money and then suddenly I just make money for doing nothing.
Everybody wants to.
What is investment?
Everybody wants to make money.
No, what is
I
investment?
understand that. I
You get
understand
to a
that.
point where your money works for you and no longer your time working for you. That's investment.
No. I understand. I'm not trying to say, I'm a capitalist. I'm not trying to say that we cannot do that. But what I'm trying to say in essence is that you cannot have $566 million of trade value without any production in your local economy. You see, one of the problems we are facing in Nigeria today is over-financialization of the system. Even the whole world is suffering from this over-financialization. You have about $140 trillion of GDP, yet you have about $256 trillion of debt. Nearly half of the money is in the debt market. If you come back to Nigeria, we keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and printing money to inflate our way out of the problem. It has nothing to do with failed government. In fact, our debt to GDP ratio is really very healthy.
Is failing completely by the same system.
I'm coming. Can I talk? I think CBN is one of the finest organizations we have in Nigeria.
Not this CBN.
No. I'm coming. This CBN has one of the most trained, most professionally organized staff that I know of. I have been operating in an enterprise industry. I am an IT expert. As I can tell you, here in Nigeria, we don't have any organization that runs a stable and standard even structure with proper accountability, the CBN. And my interaction with most of them have been very professional. And the action they've taken regarding this was very, very proactive to prevent Nigerians from getting into the problem of MMM. We know what happened. So we cannot allow this kind of things to be happening. We cannot also allow over-financialization of the system where we have so many things like now, if I can talk about the herdsmen and farmers crisis.
You know, I'll let you talk about it, you know, and
financialization of the system. It's a process
I'll
where...
let you talk about it when we come back from this break. We need to take a moment now. Please stay with us. Dr. Onoha Nachi, a financial economist, investment advisor, and energy expert, and Mr. Adamu Garba, who is the CEO of IPI Group and former presidential aspirant on the platform of the APC, are still with us in the studio. We're discussing this matter of CBNs is a restriction or ban, depending on how you look at it, on cryptocurrencies or on DMBs, deposit money banks, who are making passageway to same for cryptocurrencies in Nigeria. And they have both very different stances on the matter, which we're still, you know, trying to delve into. Kayode from Lagos has a question for you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I mean, listen to this, quite interesting. If you go on social media, you'll even find out that, I mean, the vista is just amazing. And you can let us know what you think at Sunrise Daily Now. But Dr. Nachi, a lot of people understand how this works, but there are so many other people who don't quite get a hang of this. And the CBN raised some issues. I'd like you to address this one. So in trying to draw similarities, you've talked about investments, going to the stock exchange, for example, to buy stocks, investing in companies and all that. So for the stock exchange, for example, we know these companies. For example, you know, companies that manufacture cement, for example, you can invest in them. Companies like banks and all that, FMCG companies, you know these companies and you can invest in them, as it were. But for cryptocurrency, are there companies, entities that ultimately these funds are invested in, or like Mr. Garba said, or is this just largely speculative? So help us understand that area. What is the foundation really of cryptocurrency when it comes to business, that is?
Okay. Thank you for that question. The point to get clarified is, first and foremost, cryptocurrency trading and investment is not allowed on a corporate entity. It's an individual thing. You as an individual decide whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it. So it is not a corporate entity. So it's not like where we have in the capital market where there are fund managers that are licensed who collect funds from investors and they'll be the one to trade on that. But in cryptocurrency, it is very, very individualistic. It is your opinion, it is your choice. You study the market and you do the necessary follow-up to it. So they don't really fall in the same category, because in the capital market, what you do is you have people that are licensed, like I said, as fund managers, people that are licensed for dealership and all that, and other different licenses. And these people will be the one to do this transaction on behalf of a group of individuals, either through a collective investment scheme and other possible schemes that do exist, using every kind of instrument that are available. But in this one, it is clear and it is obvious that it is individualistic. You make your choice, you log in, and you go through the process yourself. You establish your accounts, you establish and you buy your coin and deposit in your wallet, and you start trading on it by yourself. So the both of them don't. But at this point, I think it's good to understand, on a personal opinion, real personal opinion, there is a collaboration between the CBN, precisely the CBN governor, and the commercial bank against Nigerian economy. And that is a very great matters to look into. These two bodies have come together to work against Nigerian economy, to work against Nigerians, and that is true. And I make this statement and I stand by it. The only reason that the CBN, through the governor, has made this statement is because of the way people are putting the money into those trading is affecting the commercial bank's balance sheet. And they want that to stop. They don't want that balance sheet to be depleted. So it is the commercial bank that even approached the CBN to, can you give us these regulations? And these things has to be looked into. Because if it's not affecting their balance sheet, think about it. I have 100 million naira in UBA, and I'm pulling that by 100 million. It has an effect on UBA balance sheet. And the only way to stop that is to make CBN, give them a power to stop me from pulling out that money to using it what I want to use it. But let's get the side effect, which I mentioned earlier on. They cannot stop it because they will only succeed in helping the nearby country economy because this money will go there. They have already done it when they placed restriction on transfers and all that. And I mentioned it clearly that...
Well, Dr. Nachi, I just wanted to...
EcoBank is growing wider every day.
Right. I mean... Right, as you said, some believe this is inevitable anyway, but I just wanted to be clear on the foundation of this. I mean, are you investing eventually in a company that, you know, provides service or value and employs people, and then you get, you know, value on your investment or dividends? I just wanted to get that clear because that has been a major issue. But let me take this to Mr. Garba. He might want to respond to some things you said, and also to this tweet, which he tweeted or he put out, I think, last week, talking about cow to currency, and that got a lot of people talking. And I'm just wondering, is that a type of cryptocurrency you are planning to introduce, or you literally mean investing in cows? Because it sounds like cow to currency. So if you could just clear that in line with, as well as your response to some of the things Dr. Nachi said.
Yes, I will start by saying that I don't think CBN and maybe the central bank governor is connivance against Nigerians. I think one of the finest CBN governors that has ever been produced since the inception of our democracy is Godwin Emefiele, and he has been doing his best, especially in the area of real assets of the country, particularly agriculture, where much of the jobs is being produced in this country. If you look at our economy, about 56% is service economy, which cannot be able to accommodate so much people. We need to enable the production sector, and so far CBN has been doing wonderful job in terms of enabling agricultural practices in Nigeria. And if this even fell to the point you raised about cow to currency is indirectly trying to tell people, to orient them about the need for us to invest in what is real than what is virtual. If you look at this country today, we have several security issues around herdsmen and farmers that are being treated as insurrections or a problem, but these present a very huge economic opportunity. Beef industry, for God's sake, is about $2 trillion industry. Like, if you check countries like Brazil, they export to the tune of $5.4 billion annually of beef. That is like almost 25% of the Nigerian budget. And again, if you look, the same Brazil even made a commitment to make sure that per individual in their own country, they have at least one cow. Now they have about 211 million people with 211 million cows. US is one of the largest exporter of beef. In fact, one company in the United States that processes beef sells up to $50 billion annually of this beef processing. Yet United States that we are seeing is also a counter-currency country. Why? Because United States makes about produce about 89 million cows, selling about 12.5 tons of beef meat every year. You know, so when you look at all those things, there are huge economic opportunity. When you take a cow, for instance, in Nigeria, we produce maybe 7.5 million. That's what we kill. That's what we eat in our houses. How much do we export? So this is the problem. Instead of us to pay attention to the complete economic value chain of cattle, like from the feed they eat to the meat in their body, to the tummy cells, to the fats they produce, to the horns, to the bones, to everything around cattle, including the dungs, is an economic value.
Okay,
yet we are wasting it at the point of normal ethnic and at the normal ordinary politics of ethnics and politics of section.
Well,
These
Mr.
are very
Garba,
serious problems.
Absolutely.
I'm coming. Cow business, I'm coming. Cow business is not exclusive business for the Fulanis. We need to understand that. Brazil is not a Fulani country. US is not a Fulani country. India is not a Fulani country. Everybody can do ranching. A Yoruba man, an Igbo man, a Isekiri man, an Ijao man, a Tiv man, a Bachama man can do ranching. If some of us, the Fulanis, refuse to do ranching, then you can also do it and make very big amount of money that is associated with that. So
okay, good point that you have made, Mr. Garba.
Yes. We can move to cryptocurrency.
Well, I was actually afraid that you were going to come up and say, look, this cryptocurrency thing is maybe we're going to convert cows into some cryptocurrency, but thankfully that's not what you're saying. But let me ask you this, and I believe that Dr. Naidi. Yes, I get it, because I mean, historically, even in reports have it out there that this whole ranching thing is not strange to us since between the 40s, 50s, and 60s. These are not things that are strange to us, and it wasn't, as you have said, it's not something limited to just one ethnic group. All ethnic groups have been able to do this before. I hope that this that you are raising will help us to get back into that conversation. But there is something in that comment that the first notice that the CBN put out, and which we showed you earlier. But the part that I would like you to respond to is where it says that accordingly, all DMBs, MBFIs, and OFIs are directed to identify persons and or entities transacting in or operating cryptocurrency exchanges within their systems and ensure that such accounts are closed immediately. Two issues are raised right there. Number one, do you see a possible, what happens to those, the money or the resources in those accounts? And number two, do you see litigations coming?
I think the first thing that we need to understand is that these so-called traders or exchange houses within the crypto market, the ones that are, let me say, the hybrid crypto traders or marketers, where the interface between the real person who works out and brings his money and also a virtual environment where you don't track. What I think is these guys are not first and foremost regulated. They are not within the window of regulation. They just collect people's assets and claim to invest it in Bitcoin. And nobody can predict what might be the outcome of that Bitcoin. If you look at the World Economic Forum statement from the Bank of England, the governor of Bank of England made it very clear that the speculation in cryptocurrency, it gives a cause of worry. There is no way you can accept that kind of business. As business, one time you have $43,000 and another time you have $28,000 within the window of 2 weeks. What kind of business is this? So what CBN did is, first and foremost, identify and shut down the window that will enable like kind of pseudo Ponzi scheme in the name of crypto trading. You can't be collecting money. This is money. Money is one of the very strong regulator of our economy, every economy in the world. So you can't allow money to just flow without some window of visibility. Now, these transactions are happening completely conduit. I can tell you that we can even speculate and say that most of these kidnappers that are kidnapping people in northwestern part of Nigeria, when they collect huge amount of deposit in cash in Naira, they ended up depositing it in Bitcoin. We can speculate that. We can speculate and say that most of the monies or most of the stealings that Boko Haram is doing, they invest the monies in Bitcoin. We can speculate that. But how can you report that? You don't. So close this account. You who goes and invest there, you have responsibility to pay them back. We have some organizations I saw in Nigeria like Luno, like Binance, all these exchange houses issuing press statements saying that everybody's investment is safe, that they are going to return that money. They have, if they are ethically regulated, they have moral responsibility to return back investors' money or to seek investors' consent to reinvest somewhere. But there should be no any legal issue that may come here simply because there is no law that is broken. These guys are operating with huge amount of money. In some instances, even politicians are taking millions of dollars out of this country through money laundering via this channel of cryptocurrency, through these exchange houses. Somebody will just go and collect huge amount of money and then come and invest in cryptocurrency, and there he is in Dubai harvesting it. So these are serious economic problems that we have to look at it, that is stealing our job away, stealing our livelihood away, spoiling our road. not giving us the right electricity, not giving us the right education, not investing in our healthcare system.
I don't know
all going outside this country.
I don't know
so we should not agree with that.
I don't know if Mr. Ano I will agree with you, but we have seen in the last couple of, let's say, months and weeks now, the central bank trying to ensure that people invest in the real economy. They have scrapped interest rates for savings accounts. Treasury rates on treasury bills are almost next to nothing. Maybe the only thing you can invest in right now, if you're looking at just putting your money in financial instruments, might be bonds. And maybe if you want to go to the,
The bonds are not even lucrative.
Yeah, exactly. They're not lucrative anymore,
TB
at
is
least
1%.
as they used to be. So a lot of the things that they have been doing in recent times is to force money to the real sector, to get people to invest on the ground so as to create jobs. Is this really out of place, especially when you look at the fact that this seems to be providing an alternative for people to do much, to earn so much without, breaking sweats?
So the breaking sweat. First and foremost, I think there's a level of ignorance being exhibited in trying to explain this. The investment in cryptocurrency is personal. There's no corporate entity, and I'll ask them to go and verify that is registered as an investor in cryptocurrency. That's good. They could carry out their technology investigation about that. They'll come out clean about that. So nobody should begin to proud and make those statements. They collect people's money. No. You are not allowed. It's an individual. I can only put my own money. And I can only register with my name and not with any this.
Yeah, so but you can collect money from people.
That being said, the problem we have with this current central bank is they're working against the people and against the Nigerian economy. The wrong thing that we've ever committed
I don't
is...
think... Before you say that, sorry to interrupt you, sir. Let me quickly answer my question. You are not actually answering my question.
I mean, that's where I'm heading to.
Yeah, so you have to quickly do that.
You have a central bank who has refused to operate as a central bank. The function of a central bank is to maintain the interest rate, exchange rate, GDPs, and co. And you're not focusing on that. You want to start operating like a commercial bank because we have a governor who is from the commercial bank, who has been from that commercial bank. Let me give you an example.
Sorry to interrupt you. You're not dealing with the issue. The issue right here is that we are losing money in the real sector.
No.
How do we get people to put money in the real sector?
The CBN has failed to empower institutions. What has happened about Bank of Agriculture? When does CBN turn to Bank of Agriculture? There is Bank of Agriculture fully established. But the connivance between CBN and commercial banks has made it impossible for Bank of Agriculture to function, which is a real sector, which is real sector to operate on. What has happened to...
There's Bank of Industry. They're doing...
No, what has happened to mortgage reverse...
we even have NYSC.
Mortgage reverse institution. What has happened to that? These are real sectors. But you are busy. Anybody that needs agricultural fund today, you are meant to approach commercial bank and operate on the commercial bank loan conditions. Because of that, why can't you fund... If we're talking about a real sector, we have a failed system. It's a wrong decision to get a commercial bank MD to become a CBN governor. And this is the implications of what we deal with. It's a wrong decision to get a non-economics to head a central bank. These are the implications they will suffer from.
Well, I don't know that this conversation can go on for another 1 hour because the CBN has also raised pertinent questions. The fact that no one has criticized...
your colleague asked about legal matters.
Has criticized money today as it stands. People are saying, why not invest in dollar? Why not invest in the pound sterling? Why not? There are huge questions around crypto. Why crypto, so to speak? But gentlemen,
it provides global stability.
We do not have the time that we really need to dig further and see what danger this could actually pose to our real economy. But we have to thank both of you for sharing your thoughts this morning on the matter. Dr. Ono Hanachi is a financial economist, investment advisor, and an energy expert. And we're also joined by Mr. Adamu Garba, who is the CEO of IPI Group and former presidential aspirant on the platform of the All Progressives Congress. Well, that's it for this segment. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
The government side responded to issues, especially concerning IPs and what is being done to assist the university workers, non-academic workers who have had some complaints in that direction, especially in terms of some of the allowances that they said were chopped off by the IP system. And we were satisfied that reasonable progress had been made. And with this, we are hopeful that we have arrested the impending strike action, and the from TDN 3 South, the government side have been addressed.
Clearly, the program or the agenda of the meeting has not been exhausted. So there are still issues to be addressed. In fact, one of the most contentious issues is yet to be discussed. So far, nothing has been concluded. We don't have the mandate to talk about suspending or not going on strike. That's not within our competence. The mandate of our members stands until they ask us to reverse the mandate.
Well, this is definitely something that I'm sure a number of you have been very, very concerned about, as have we. But then what is the latest? Well, just last Friday, the notice was put out that the leadership of the Joint Action Committee of non-teaching staff of universities says it will go ahead with its planned strike. And of course, you have listened to a thing or two right there. Well, where are we on this matter, and what do we do now? We have with us this morning the national president of SANU, in the person of Mohammed Ibrahim, joining us to give us an update. Good morning, and thanks for joining us today. Well, you have listened to the Minister of Labor and Productivity, and of course, you have also read things that he said that it will be illegal for your association to continue on this strike while you are still at the negotiating table. How do you react?
Good morning, and thanks for having me. The latest we have is that our members are on strike, as indicated earlier, and that our congresses have met and they are filing in their reports with regards to the position of government on the two items so far discussed, which we have made known and available to them. And government has accepted that we will resume or continue with our discussion on Thursday this week. And on the issue of whether the strike is legal or illegal, I think that is a whole gamut of something else, because we have followed all the processes that led us to this, and that I don't think it is anything new in this government to have been discussing with unions while they are on strike, because we are all living witnesses to what has been happening.
This conversation with government began before the strike, you called, took off. And you have also confirmed that there are negotiations continuing this week, Saturday. So the question then is, why not wait, for, maybe a little progress made before deciding to go on the strike? Or is this an indication that you do not trust government?
Well, as to whether we trust government or not, I don't think that is the matter, because if we don't trust them, we wouldn't have, listened to them. But the question is that as leaders, our operational guidelines in the unions of NASU and SANU, the leaders do not have the final say as to whether we don't have the mandate to call or suspend strike without getting back to, our congresses. And that We have served government, as you must have listened to the minister said so, and in consonance with the ILO, convention, our grievances, and that at the meeting we had on Tuesday last week, there was a stalemate because we really wanted to exactly get, commitment from government with regards to the issues that we started discussing. For example, the issue of the national minimum wage arrears. We were made to understand that it was just less than 20 billion to take care of paying, minimum wage arrears of all staffers of Nigerian tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. And when we needed to know and asked when these monies will be paid, government responded by saying that they needed to wait for the Minister of Finance to come back from her vacation. And not only that, that they are even submitting, this demand or this request for a supplementary budget, that may come up in another 3 months or so. And we are all living witnesses that the sum of 40 billion was given, without waiting for any supplementary budget. So for us, we believe if government really wants to nip this in the bud, there is room for commitment. There's need for commitment, and there's need for government to source for these funds and make it available more so that other members, civil servants and public servants in the federal, civil service have been paid. And then the other issue we discussed was the issue of this IPPIS. You also had the minister saying that we intimated them that most of our allowances, that were not in the salary stream were chopped off. And that made our members poorer and making them their lives even more difficult. They cannot even send their children to school, and they cannot meet up with their day-to-day activities at home and elsewhere. So that was what led us to a stalemate, because the two issues that we discussed, came to a halt because there was no headway, because all the answers we got were not encouraging. And that was why we had to request that we need to get back to our congresses to inform them.
Yeah, we'll continue on this trajectory when we return from this break, because clearly there are still a number of issues to raise. Join us again. Thanks for staying with us. We still have Mohammed Ibrahim, who is the national president of SANU. Well, just before the next question, I'd like you to take a look at this and react to it.
The leaders of SANU and NASU are very knowledgeable persons. They are very experienced in labor matters. Their General Secretary, Comrade Adeyemi, Prince Peters Adeyemi, and Ibrahim, who is new on saddle for SANU. They are experienced labor leaders. They know they will not go that route. They know if they go that route, it will be an illegal strike. They know that if they go that route, yes, they also have a right to strike, but the employer also have a right to some relief. And they also know that when they go that route, it means that they've broken down the negotiation in my place. They're not listening. And the labor laws also says what I can do if I find that I cannot manage a situation. The law says I can refer those disputes upwards, starting from Industrial Arbitration Panel to the National Industrial Court.
Comrade, is this a path you are willing to take?
Well, I wouldn't say that this is any path any industrial union will want to take, but whatever honorable and respected minister would have said, he's only doing his job. And I am telling you that whatever we are doing, we're also not unmindful of the fact that we have a job to keep and we have a job to do. And this strike was not a day's decision. It is a whole gamut of a lot of things. We declared an industrial dispute with government. We had a 3 days protest. We gave a 2 weeks ultimatum. We have written government. We have filled all the necessary forms, and that we responded to the government's invitation. And that before now, there was an MOU that was signed in October with a timeline of 2 weeks to ensure that all the grievances were addressed. But between 20th October until last Tuesday, nobody felt that it was necessary to invite these unions to talk to them until when we declared or gave that ultimatum. I don't think that is also a good thing, or is anything that is giving a good impression of what is happening on the side of government. And that the question of whether the strike is legal or not, like I said earlier, is not something for either the Honorable Minister or anybody not competent in the field of legal, redress will come and say. However, our strike is not illegal, and I stand by that because all due processes have been, followed, in declaring it, and that we said the leadership does not declare strike, but the membership, and that members are filing in their reports, and we have informed them what government has offered so far. That does not make any difference from what position we are, and that we are expecting to collect this by tomorrow, and then we see government on Thursday, and then we will be able to determine whether or not the strike will continue or will be suspended.
Takes away the liability of the leadership and just spreads it across the whole membership. But it's interesting to also note that this is not the first time the minister will describe a strike as illegal. Incidentally, when ASU went on strike last year, you may recall that the minister also described ASU strike as legal. But we know what came out of that eventually after weeks and months of negotiations. And this brings me to an important point, which I've heard you refer to, but I'd like you to just be clear regarding that. So you referenced the certain 40 billion that was paid, I believe, to ASU. And you said there was no need for a supplementary budget with that. So why should there be a need for a supplementary budget when it comes to SANU and NASU? And it begs the question, during this whole process, I believe you were watching the negotiation with ASU just to see how it plays out, to see if you can use that as a bargaining chip. But in this whole process, do you feel like your members are treated like they're second-class citizens compared to ASU? Because this has always come up. Has it changed?
Well, with regards to, the 40 billion that I mentioned, the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment mentioned that the 40 billion was meant for the 4 university-based unions, if I had him right. And I'm sure it's also in the public knowledge. And when it was time to share the money or disburse it, that was where issues arose. And that a certain 75% was given to 1 union, and then 25% was given to 3 unions. But before then, if we rewind back, in 2019, in one of the meetings we had with government discussing these issues of arrears of the earned allowances, 30 billion naira was also made as an offer for the 3 unions, but it was never paid. So when ASU came up with their own demands, government felt that they could lump us together and then create confusion. Because when that money came, the idea was that the money should be shared, to members of staff of the 4 unions. Belonging to the 4 unions. But unfortunately, that was why my position has been that government has no business indicating what should go to ASU or what should go to, the 3 other unions. This membership of the 4 unions, these are public servants that are working in public universities. And everybody has his calling. Everybody has his schedule of duty. If you give these universities this money, they will know exactly how to pay and how to disburse it. But then when you ab initio create a confusion by saying that give this amount to so-so unions and then give this amount, lopsided and skewed, that is where the whole issue. Now, on the issue of whether we are treated as second class or not, I don't believe, and I am not a second class, and I don't believe my members will take that, But then we all know that we have been to the university as either students or members of staff. We know that no section of the university community can be done away with. When you are awarded a degree at the end of your sojourn, you are awarded a degree for having found you worthy in both character and learning. It's not even learning before character. And who molds, 70 or 80% of the character of students in the university is their interaction with the non-teaching staff. From the point of entry, you collect your admission letter, you go and get registered, you are given hostel, you are given all the facilities, you go to the health center, and so on and so forth. If the environment is not conducive, if the non-teaching staff are not treated fairly, if they are not, carried along, or if they are not given the atmosphere to function effectively, certainly going to classes and studying cannot make a good degree for a student. And therefore, nobody should think that the other members of the non-teaching staff cadre are lesser mortals or they are second-class citizens. And for any reason, I tell you that for us in SANU and NASU, we are not competing with ASU. What we are saying is that government should give us a level playing field. Everybody should be given his own job to do, because you are engaged, you have a contract with government. If you have been appointed, you are supposed to collect an allowance at the end of the month, you should be paid. But when government creates artificial problems that will bring in issues that will make staff life difficult, that is where such things come up. From 2009 to date, you have about 11 years. And that in these 11 years, if government had done the needful, all the issues about arrears, accumulating and then finding it difficult to pay wouldn't have been there. But as it is today, the agreements that were signed with the 4 unions have not seen the light of the day. And the agreement itself carries in it that after every 5 years, you are supposed to renegotiate. And that the first one has not even been, have not seen the light of the day. Right. And then you still have, and you are carrying backlog of problems.
Okay, so Mr. Ibrahim, let me just put this in as we wind down on this, because, so ASU's strike has been sorted out largely, even though ASU is saying, well, this is a suspension. Now we have SANU and NASU. But don't forget there's also NATS, which you reference, which is academic technologists, which is saying, well, they're not also ruling out a strike. So you wonder where we're really headed, really, when it comes to, tertiary institutions. But as we wait for that meeting on Thursday, let us know what agreement will pacify you, because, looking at dailies, SANU and NASU saying, well, we're being owed over 81 billion naira. The government is saying, well, we don't exactly have enough funds. So what is that point you can't go below?
Well, it will be difficult for me to say it here, but I can tell you that we are a very responsible set of people, where if we see that there is a quantum leap, with regards to easing the problems we are facing. Like I've told you, a lot of our members are really suffering, because among our membership, there are people who have not received salary from February when IPPI started till date. You can imagine the kind of life they are living. And then our medical staff, who are also exposed to these COVID-19 issues because they had to attend to the large population in the university community, do not get these allowances that are paid other medical doctors in the federal civil service and federal health centers since this issue of pandemic started. And you can imagine they also interact with the students that are going to the universities, from different backgrounds and so on. So the little we, as to the limit or the minimum we can take, I think will be determined by a government disposition to solving this problem, by being reasonable and ensuring that at least we have had table before them 7 issues, and let's see how far they can go. But when ab initio, the first 2 that have been discussed, does not show sign of, blinking an eye, then of course, like we said, it is only our principals, the congresses, that will determine. If they say we back out, we back out. But if they say we continue, we have no other option than to continue.
Clearly, Mr. Ibrahim, there are so many issues to look at, from all that you're saying. If the issues of since 2009 have not been fully resolved, and you have another basket of demands numbering 7, I wonder when we're going to get out of this. We can only wish you the best, in the build-up to the meeting of Thursday, and hoping that that meeting will resolve the issues and then the strike can be called off summarily. We'll have to thank you very much for your time and thoughts this morning. Mohammed Ibrahim is National President of SANU. He joins us virtually from Adamawa State. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Well, still staying within the periphery of the university after now.
Well, I'm sure a lot of our viewers have passed through this process. The National Youth Service Corps, they're called corpers, right? But it's something that resonates with a lot of people. The fact that for a year or 11 months, you have another month of terminal leave. You get to, go to another place and you get some experience with life, with work, basically to prepare you for life after university, which is why I said, this is a periphery of university. But when that is done with, what is next? And this morning, we'll be joined by the state coordinator of NYSC in Lagos just to get a sense of what is next, especially as we prepare for what they call the POP, the Passing Out Parade. Before COVID, there used to be a lot of, pop and pageantry with POP, but of course, with the COVID-19 restrictions, you understand why they have to be low-key. But more importantly is what happens after now. Nigeria's unemployment rate is at 27.1, and it begs the question, just what awaits them? I'm talking about those passing out, the gold now, they call them coppers during service, and then they say, you become gold now. But how valuable is that gold? Who's going to get that gold and use that gold in some sense? I'm sure you understand what I mean. So those are some of the issues we'll be looking at this morning. Is there a plan really to ensure that they are employed, gainfully employed? If there are no jobs, so what is next? Is there some form of empowerment for them? A lot of questions, really.
Really, part of the programs that they're supposed to go through during the NYSC is entrepreneurship learning, some entrepreneurship learning. And you rightly pointed it out there when you talk about the unemployment figures. Hopefully, Mr. Megwa will join us shortly. Well, but how much of all of that, has been factored into these people that are passing out, so to speak? I understand that the parade is ongoing as we speak now, so perhaps that's why being the state coordinator might be a little bit. The passing out is already happening right now, just what you can see now. Okay, that's Mr. Megwa right there in the middle of the...
So that explains why he's not joining us yet. He's, of course, observing that mandatory passing out parade.
And this is a live feed, just so you know. So when you raise that issue of, now they are gold, how valuable is the gold? But, back in time, okay, here I go again.
No, go ahead. I'm with you on this one.
Back in time, the students are picked right there from school. Right there. You have what they need in any organization. You are captured right from school and straight into unemployment. That's what things that used to happen. The NYSC, for those who may not know, is a product of we have been largely divided as a nation. Let's bring ourselves together. So you who schooled in Oyo State, go to Maiduguri to have some experience of our nationhood. You who schooled in Kano, go and have your youth service in Anambra State, just so we can create this spirit of oneness, of unity, as is contained in the national creed. But part of what they're supposed to be studying during the NYSC is entrepreneurship learning.
Yeah.
How significant is that? I would have expected that, some organizations like the BOI, the BOA would, have some conversations with these guys. Okay, if you want to go into entrepreneurship, some money is right there waiting for you. You from school straight into business, and that is what you will have right now. I don't know how that is.
Yeah, and that points me to one of the lead stories on the front page of Vanguard, which is low level of financial knowledge threatening MSME. So how well do they know about some of these provisions? But then you see live visuals really of a passing out parade at the NYSC camp here in Lagos. And well, that's our guest right there. It's meant to be our guest, Mr. Eddie Megua, the NYSC state coordinator in that, just right there on that platform, going through the usual process of the passing out parade. And
the hopes that this has for the students that are passing by is something else that touches my heart right now, Coyote. What are the hopes? It reminds me of that song, I think it was in the 90s, or was it the early 2000s, that Femi Kuti, released. What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow bring for Nigerians?
Can I give you an example? Because I was speaking with some young Nigerians who went through an employment process, trying to get a job. And this points to regulation because, that's the hope, really. You're done with school and you need to get employed. You need to feed yourself and, start a life for yourself. So they were telling me about this process of employment they went through. So they went through training and all. They submitted their CVs. One of them had a master's degree.
Wow.
So you'd expect that at least, this should be something good enough. So they went through the process, spent their money to go for training, virtually, by the way, spent money on data and all that. So it was time to get the offer letter. And, usually after praying, they thought, finally God has answered my prayer. So they looked at the offer letter. And guess what? By the way, this is meant to be, they're meant to participate in the NEEN enrollment process, right? The federal government has sort of liberalized it. So there are accredited NGOs or organizations that are now doing these things. So they're meant to be a part of it. They didn't even know at first. So they looked at the offer letter and guess what? They saw that for each enrollment, they'll be paid 30 naira. And that's how much they'll be paid. 30 naira for each person they enroll. And by the way...
Is it 30 naira or 30,000 naira?
30 naira. So for you to earn anything reasonable, really, you have to enroll maybe 100 people per day, per individual. And by the way, this is not a center that everybody throngs to. This is a center you have to literally ask people to come to. So imagine if you get 30 naira per enrollee, and let's say you try as much as possible, you do maybe 50 enrollees. So, that's the best case scenario. That's how much? 1,500 naira per day. And I'm talking about people that have to travel from one end of Lagos to another. At the end of a month, that's 45,000 naira. By the way, they work 6 days. So that's not even up to 45,000 naira. So it just paints you a picture of what these people have to go through just trying to get a job. And for a lot of them, they don't have a choice. They go through that. So imagine you have to spend most of your money on transportation. What is left for you to feed, to rent?
And this is also coming at a time when I happened to meet a young man who studied accounting. And I was talking about some difficulty in figures, and he just reeled out the figure. I said, wait a minute.
You're intelligent.
You're a cleaner. He said, no, sir, actually, I studied accounting. Yeah? And he's working as a cleaner in a hotel. A cleaner in a hotel. And I saw news this morning, hotels, some organizations are collecting the survival funds from their staff.
Oh, dear.
The government gives people 30,000 naira survival fund. Next thing, the company is telling them, bring.
So we can share with other employees.
So we can share with other employees. And guess what? The staff who had to do this said it's all a hoax, that the organizations don't pay them back. Guess what? Even the CEO enrolled.
Surviving with the survival fund.
And, here are young men and women passing out now. They are happy they are done with school.
Yeah.
They are about to face life. What does the life have for them?
Well, I pray that, great things will happen for them because clearly they have gone through a lot. And this shouldn't be a downer or a dampener for them. So this is a prayer. Well, Mr. Eddie Megwa couldn't join us because he's right there.
Well, he joined us.
Well, he joined us. We saw him. So.
Only he just didn't say anything to us this morning. Well, a few of your messages, your contributions to this program before we sign out. Dr. Ohunwabi says about cryptocurrency, while crypto provides viable trading and investment options, the central bank is entitled to ensure stability of the monetary system.
Okay, so there's still a lot of talk about that crypto. And this next one also concerning crypto comes from Daily Concept. Olagunju says, startups and entrepreneurs that have revolutionized the world today found a survivable ecosystem and schemes that help them grow. While most of them have the prerequisite domain knowledge, technical vision to aid the government in establishing policies, crypto should not be banned. So I think that's an important part in that tweet. He thinks that crypto should not be banned. But of course, the statement he made before is also, viable as well.
Yeah.
Digital currency, and I think that there needs to be some clarification as to what the difference is between cryptocurrency and digital currency. That some CBNs have central banks around the world have banned crypto or dealing in crypto, but they have gone a step ahead to create digital currency. So is this something that the CBN itself will be looking into? This conversation, I think, should continue. But looking at this one from Abidemi, and he's also intervening in the cryptocurrency debate. He says, beautiful discussion about cryptocurrency. Fantastic objection from the guests. Personally, I think that's for him or her, it's better for Nigeria to be very cautious about the cryptocurrency stuff to avoid any negative impact.
All right, this one is also from Joy. It says, about the same issue, many Nigerians have lost so much to fraudsters in the name of cryptocurrency. I believe regulation is the best option to protect Nigerians.
Oh, cryptocurrency is a big talk for today.
Tell
Dr.
me about
Folawiyo says, the CBN should have invited key stakeholders in the cryptocurrency market, engaged them properly, set out key regulation terms with SEC, and drive the growth of the market. That's what he thinks. Mark.
I was born, says this. I lost 1 million naira when Bank BHB was closed down. Every investment has risks. My money, my risks, my investment. The CBN has no business telling me otherwise. That's from Osborne.
Interesting. Now, this one is about the National Youth Service Corps from Onishon Paul. Says, another set of corps members passing out into an uncertain economy full of unemployment. Nigeria, my country, where are we heading? Big question, one would say.
Well, like we said, we can certainly hope that, great things will happen for them. But hope is not a strategy, they say. But just so we don't down, this pomp and pageantry, we wish them the very best. But that's the program for today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day and please remain safe.
And I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Do have a very productive week ahead.